First of all, I really want to appreciate the concerns and questions. I wanted to recognize Councillor Wameli. Has he gone out? He was seated right there, and I wanted to recognize him and appreciate him. I was also very, very delighted to see Professor Milton Alimadi around. He's a comrade that we get a lot of inspiration from in many, many, many ways. And many of you also who are here, Sembajwe used to be in the struggles previously, so it's always good to catch up and touch base. Comrades, I really, really don't want to in any way undermine the questions and concerns raised here. Earlier on, we had a debriefing meeting with the team of organizers, and our view had been that we should have a closed-door meeting to have some of those issues raised amongst ourselves as leaders and as the members here present, because we should always remember, ladies and gentlemen, that we are dealing with a dictator. We are fighting a dictatorship which uses every opportunity and every information you give them to hit back at you. A lot of information which some of you may not see available. We sit in meetings and say, should we put this information out? Like the comrades who are here reading about welfare and all that. And then they realized actually that if you stand here on this podium and you start breaking down, this is how we raised money, this is where we got it from, this is what we did, you are endangering the people who actually did that. And we've seen very many instances when that has happened. So we need to find better ways of doing these things, and we can always discuss, have these discussions amongst ourselves. I've had a very, very recurrent issue about the leadership. How do we select the diaspora leader? And we want to have a debate. Not just the leader, but the leaders of the diaspora. We want to have a debate with you. Tell you our experiences, you tell us your experiences, and let the best argument win. Because we believe in democracy, and we want democracy to flourish. But then the question is, of course, yes, again, I'm speaking in front of these cameras and all that, but the way, for example, the dictatorship in Uganda manages to use elections, every election, infiltrate it and change the course of an organization. That's what we've seen. Even political parties in Uganda. Are you not aware that the regime has infiltrated many, many political organizations, sponsored candidates, and given them resources to be able to divert the course of a political party, of a political movement? So these are the debates we need to have. But I do not think we should have them in the full glare of cameras. And if we feel that we are able to put safeguards in place and make sure that the leaders who we elect, for example, are going to represent our interests and are not going to bow to the dictates of the dictatorship, certainly. Maybe the president will tell you about this, but we also have intelligence within the system, and one of the things we know is that the dictatorship in Uganda is so worried about our diaspora effort. They are so worried about our diaspora effort because it has never happened before for them to be confronted by Ugandans in the diaspora the way we are doing as NUP and People Power. They wake up to a protest in South Africa, a protest in Zambia, a protest in New York, when Honorable Chagulanyi was arrested in Arua, you remember what Job you comrades did and put the dictatorship on the spot. So we want to make sure that every decision we take is clearly and carefully interrogated for the best interest of the struggle that we are involved in. So I wanted to assure you that everything is open for discussion. We are open to learn, to take suggestions. But I think there is a Luganda saying, JBMuwonge, we would love to have a very deliberate discussion. And let's have a discussion. I've just told the organizers this morning that we can have that meeting. And the president can also be part of it online. And we listen to each other. And after that, get a clear course of action. And we are willing to take suggestions from you. So the question of leadership, that's what I wanted to say about that. Of course, I also recognize that sometimes there's a communication gap between the Secretariat and the diaspora, but we are constrained many times in terms of human resource capacity. Initially, many of you people in the diaspora actually, I always laugh at Comrade Herman and say that a lot of times he used to speak about issues in Uganda from a very, very detached view, and he says, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? And we'll tell him our experiences. But I remember the first day he came to Uganda, and he went to northern Uganda to help with election guarding. He was immediately arrested. And I don't remember how many days he took there. But his account was that some of the people he was with, he suspects highly that they were compromised and therefore are the ones who gave him out. So that is the situation you're dealing with when you're dealing with a dictator. I want you friends to understand that we are fighting a dictatorship. And I'm very glad that our senior comrade here gave us these thoughts that when you're dealing with a dictatorship, there are things that you would love to do but you cannot do because of the reality on the ground. And I encourage you, comrades, to come to the ground and understand the situation firsthand. Because a lot of times it's easy to look at it from a distance. But let me give an example. I came here yesterday and somebody was saying, NUP, let's do structures in Uganda. Let's build structures, let's build structures. And I reminded him that actually one of the biggest challenges we got in people power was the day we announced structures. The day we announced coordinators, and I can give you all the names. The deputy presidents are here. We announced the coordinators in Western Uganda, in the north, in east, and that they were just bought off in about 2-3 weeks. But remember, we were announcing these coordinators to deal with a certain problem of saying, why don't you have structures? We got candidates, and I remember people started writing to me as Secretary General, I have decided to get out of the election. Now, please write to the Electoral Commission withdrawing my name. After doing what? Deals with NRM candidates. Someone goes, they give him 200 million shillings, he abandons your flag. So am I saying then that we shouldn't have structures? No. I'm saying let's discuss these things, interrogate them. Sometimes when we take some time before we take a step on something, some people might easily say, why don't you want to have structures? It is because of our experiences. And I can remind you, comrades, you go and watch the video when Honorable Kyagulanyi, our president, was reading our coordinators at the time from Northern Region. I think Mama Lina will tell you how, I don't know how many are still standing in that area. Western Region. One tells you I was given a tractor to look after my garden and therefore I abandoned the cause. Another says, Museveni promised to pay my school fees, so I abandoned the cause. Another, but of course, that's why I said that these discussions which are in-house maybe would have been better for us to discuss them at that level. We share experiences and try to see which way is better for all of us. Now, somebody talked about manifesto. Our manifesto is online. Kindly just go to our website and you'll find our manifesto there. The other question that has come up consistently is the question of the president's failure to come. And we really take full responsibility. Maybe we should have found out his team. He has a team that manages him. Definitely, as Secretary General and the other leaders who are here, they do not manage the president's schedule. He has his personal assistant and secretaries and all that. But it was an oversight, a big oversight, and we are also reviewing his team around him to see how we can strengthen it and make it bigger. But I also want to talk about my experience in this meeting. Maybe the team I came with can be the one to even project it better. When we were coming here yesterday, I reached Qatar, and they put me aside. They came out and read my name and put me aside and said, you've been to Amsterdam. I said, but I've not been to Amsterdam. They said, you've been there 2 weeks ago. That's what we see in the system. They asked me questions, blah, blah, blah. And I gave them my passport. That wasn't there. So I left and came here. And when I go to Logan here, it's the same thing. People put me aside and said, your passport shows that you've been in Europe, blah, blah. That's what our system shows. And you remember how long I took in that room where they normally take people before they are deported, before I could join the team. So we are also trying to find out if maybe that was a case of sabotage somewhere, because it's a possibility. You all remember, comrades, that a few weeks ago, I was meant to travel with the president to Zambia for the presidential inauguration. We did not give details at the time for a reason, but now maybe I can talk about it. We did our tests early morning, emergency, and we were within time. They said by, I think, 4 p.m. you'll have your results back. We waited, there were no results. waited, there are no results. Our flight was, I think, 9 p.m., waited, there are no results, go to the airport. They are going to come maybe at 6 p.m., they did not come, 7 p.m., they did not come, and we couldn't go. The swearing in was the following day. And the people at the medical lab kept saying that that had never happened because the thing kept bringing invalid. So that is how we are not able to attend a very, very important event of that magnitude. So again, comrades, please let's be mindful that we are dealing with a dictatorship. And that day, earlier on in the morning, they kept calling us, different people, myself and other leaders, who is representing NUP, because I had gotten some information that we must be going. Who is representing NUP at the, and we kept making sure that we don't give them this information. But as you know, the COVID results are centrally controlled through the Ministry of Health. So I think we highly suspect, of course, that this was the regime making sure that they sabotage that particular travel. So that I wanted to explain that and say that where we have faults or oversights, definitely we take full responsibility, and we'll try very, very hard next time to make sure that the president comes, and I'm sure he will offer that apology even by himself. Again, it's sometimes very sad to see the work we do at the Secretariat, for example, is just too much. You have a small team dealing with the whole country, and every time you come there, you'll find people there, because as NUP, we need three things, three kinds of people, resource people. You want someone who is competent, you want someone who is available, who has the time, and you need someone who is reliable, who is not going to sell out. And our experience in the struggle has been that it is very, very difficult to get a person who has these three qualities. Most of the people are available, and I can tell you that most of our foot soldiers are available. But maybe because of one reason or the other, the competence levels to be able to deal with some of these sophisticated matters, they may not have that kind of training. And the people who are well trained are not available. They are busy in offices, you know, the intellectuals or elite. In Uganda, very few are actually involved in the struggle for change. Or they are actually involved, but they don't want to be in the murky waters. Again, because of the dictatorial environment in which we operate, people fear to lose their lives, to lose their jobs, to lose families, to lose whatever. So you end up with people who have the competences that you require for these jobs as a very, very small group of people. I think there are other things that I've heard. Thank you, Comrade Alimadi, for reminding us that the Ugandans elected us to take leadership and that we should behave like a government in power and we should create jobs for the people. I think that's something we need to interrogate. We've been talking to our leaders, and if you see the record of our leaders who are elected, they are trying so hard to serve the people. We are trying to do mobilization activities, we are trying to do charity events, we are trying to do general cleaning events, we are trying to build hospitals, buy ambulances, and most of the NUP leaders are doing this work, which ordinarily should be done by government. But you remember, for example, there was a huge debate about the money that MPs normally get, and within ourselves we said, should this money be returned? It will just be, again, be embezzled like all the rest has been. Should it be taken to buy these cars or whatever? Then we said, you know what? Maybe the MPs, the individual leaders, should use this money to buy ambulances, to focus on education and healthcare. And if you go in almost every NUP-led constituency, not all of them, but majority of them took this advice, and they are trying to serve their people as much as they can. Someone has talked about the question of writing to the US and to the African Union, and I think I'm fully in agreement with that. Well, we need to remind these people, and those are some of the strategies we should be discussing here. How do we make sure that the hypocrisy of the world ends? You know, you just saw what happened in Uganda. Ugandans were killed on the streets in hundreds, over 100 by our estimates in November. And the AU did not release any statement. They did not release any statement to condemn the barbaric killing of Ugandans on the streets of Kampala. But the following day, when there is a coup or something, they come in, impose sanctions and all that. So we need to continue the pressure, and I think that's what we were doing yesterday at the United Nations. Stop funding our operation. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I want to again reiterate that the leadership in Kampala is not a separate leadership from the diaspora. We should be a team, and we should work as a team, and we should strengthen the communication, make sure that there's information flow as much as possible, and we are here for you to make sure we listen to you, take these views, and try to implement them as much as possible within the circumstances under which we operate. I want to appreciate all of you. NUP, both here and in Uganda, has always mostly worked on volunteerism. Some of the comrades who are, of course, sometimes face a lot of criticism and backlash and all that, have been people who just, when we are looking, people said, I'm here, let me work. And so it was volunteerism at the start, and as we go along, I think we are going to structure better and see that we move forward. I thank you all for listening to me. May God bless you and keep you.